All right, so we're going to be looking at polynomials. So this is just an overview of all the things to do with polynomials, so add, subtract, multiply, divide. In this, we're also going to talk about exponent rules. So you should have this packet as well, so you're going to fill this in as I'm going along. So on this side, we have, this is all exponent rules. So this tells us what to do when we're adding, subtracting, multiplying with exponents, all sorts of things. So we're going to go over these real quick. First and foremost, you don't have to know exactly the property. It's okay if you don't know that. I would rather you understand how to do the math part than necessarily know how or know what the title of that particular property is. So anything raised to the 0 power is always 1. So even if I have 99 raised to the 0 power, that equals 1. It doesn't matter if it's a letter, a number, if it's raised to 0, it's always equal to 1. Negatives. So you cannot have a negative exponent. We're not allowed to have a negative exponent. So if we have a negative exponent here, so negative n, to get rid of the negative, we throw it to the bottom of a fraction. So for example, if I have like x raised to the negative 4, to get rid of this negative, I'm going to put it over, I'm going to throw it to the bottom of a fraction. Okay, so no negatives exponents. When you're multiplying two quantities that have the same base, that have exponents, so this is just going to be, when you're taking this times this, you just add your exponents. So for example, x to the 4th times x to the 5th. Notice they're both x, so then I can make this x to the 9th. Okay, so you're just adding the exponents. So when we multiply, we add. All right, and then when we divide, we're going to subtract. So if I have something like x to the 5th over x to the 3rd, they both have x as a base, so then I can say this is x to the 2nd, because 5 minus 3 is 2. Now, if you have something like this, if we had x to the 3rd over x to the 5th, this one's going to be a little different, because when I subtract, I take 3 minus 5, and that's going to give me negative 2. So this would equal x to the negative 2, but we just said that we can't have a negative exponent. So then this would simplify to 1 over x squared. Okay, so anytime you have a negative exponent, it turns into a fraction. You throw it to the bottom. All right, and then likewise also the same sort of thing. If I have 1 over x to the negative 4, well, it's already a fraction. So to get rid of this negative, we're going to throw it to the top. So now this becomes x to the 4th. Okay, so wherever it is, top or bottom, we're going to put it in its other position or the opposite position if we have a negative involved. All right, so then if we're taking a power to a power, we're going to multiply our exponents. So if I have x to the 2nd raised to the 3rd, 2 times 3 gives me 6, so x to the 6th. So this right here and this one up here, students get confused a lot. So a lot of times here they think, oh, we're multiplying, so we're just going to multiply our exponents. Be really careful on that, because it's only when you take a power to a power that you multiply. So if I had like x squared times x to the 5th, raised to the 5th, that would be x to the 10th. Okay. All right. Let's see. Down here, so then if we have, this is kind of like distributive property if you think about it. So if I have x times y and all of that raised to the 4th, that's the same thing as me saying x to the 4th times y to the 4th. So we kind of distribute that 4 to both things on the inside, or to everything on the inside. Now, be really careful, because if this is x plus y raised to the 2nd, you cannot distribute the 2. That's not allowed. Okay, that's when we would actually do FOIL. You would do x plus y times x plus y. Okay, so if there's a plus or minus between them, you can't distribute, but notice this is multiplication here, so you can. All right, and then the same thing if it's set up as a fraction, or if I'm dividing. So if I have x over y all raised to the 2nd, well then that would be x squared over y squared. Okay, so these rules, you just kind of need to know how to use them so that we can simplify these expressions. So we're going to do a couple of these down here together. All right, so this first one, we're multiplying, they're both a. So what do we do with our exponents? We're going to add them. So this would be a to the 9th. Here we're taking a power to a power. So again, excuse me, power to a power. That's going to be, sorry, so 5 times 2, that's going to be 10. Power to a power, multiply. Power to a power, multiply. Power to a power, multiply. Okay, so we're doing a couple of things here. So we have all of this raised to the 5th power. So what we can do with this is we can, because there's all multiplication in here, we can distribute that 5 to everything in here. So this is 4 to the 5th, and then power to a power, multiply. So a to the 10th, b to the 15th, and then we're actually going to figure out what, what 4 to the 5th is. So 4 raised to the 5th gives me 1024, a to the 10th, b to the 15th. All right, I want you to pause the video, try a couple of these, and then once you have tried a couple, then play the video again and we can kind of go through them. All right, so hopefully you've done a couple. So here, this is dividing, so we subtract. So this is x squared. Again, dividing, so this becomes x to the negative 3, but we can't have a negative, so this becomes 1 over x to the 3rd. Here we're going to distribute this, so this is 16, a to the 6, over 4, b to the 8th, and then our last thing to do here, 16 over 4 is 4. So that goes on top, over b to the 8th. Okay? If you have more questions on these, you can contact me and I'll go over more of these. All right, let's move right along. Okay, so now we're going to be doing polynomials. So we're going to talk about adding and subtracting. Adding and subtracting, you combine like terms. Okay, this is also key right here. Never change the exponent, just the coefficient. Remember, the coefficient is the number that comes in front. So like 4x, 4 is the coefficient. But you never change your exponent. So if we look at this first one, if I look at this here, this has xy squared, this has xy squared. On this one, this has x squared y, and then on this last one, this is x and this is x. So I'm just putting the stuff together that looks the same. So if I look at this, this is 3 plus 9, so that gives me 12xy squared. And then if I do the next one, so 4 plus 2 gives me 6x squared y, and then negative 6 plus 9 gives me 3x, and that's it. Here's another one. So again, this has x cubed, here's x squared. Oh, I don't have an x squared on this side, so I think in my head that this is 0x squared on this side. So you're just going to be pretending like that's a 0. And then you have x, and then a constant and a constant. I like to go through and kind of match things up ahead of time just because I think it's easier. Unfortunately, everything's not always in order. You'll notice that sometimes you'll have like an x squared first and then x cubed all the way over here. So just be careful. So this is 4 minus 5, which is negative 1 or negative x cubed. Again, notice I'm not changing my exponent at all. X squared, and I don't have an x squared here, so it's 3 minus 0. Well, that's just a positive 3. Negative 9 minus 2. So we have negative 9 minus negative 2, because there's a negative in front of that. So minus negative 2. This is acting as a negative sign. This is acting as the operation subtraction. So we change that to plus. So that would negative 9 plus 2 is negative 7x. And then we have 10 minus 15, which is negative 5. Where students make the biggest mistakes on these, especially with subtraction, is going to be where your signs are. Okay, so just be careful with your signs. Okay, so if we kind of look at this, 5a minus 5a, well, they just actually eliminate each other. And then I have 4 minus 3, that just gives me 1. Here, notice these are not in order. So this is what I was saying before. So 3x to the 4th minus negative 3x to the 4th. So we have 3 minus negative 3, so that becomes a plus. So that's 6x to the 4th. And then negative 3 minus 3, those cancel. Okay, let's skip down here to number 12. All right, so on this, here's just n, but I don't have just n over here, so I think of 0n over here. So 8 minus 0 gives me 8n. And then I have negative 3n to the 4th. I have 4th, so I have negative 3 minus 11. So negative 3 minus 11 gives us negative 14n to the fourth. Again, did I change my exponent? I had 4, 4, and we still have 4. All right, I have a squared, so 10 minus 3 gives me 7n squared. And then notice on this one, here I have just a number with no letter, but I don't here. So I have to think of just 0 here. So 0 minus negative 7. 0 minus negative 7. So that just becomes 0 plus 7 or a positive 7. Again, it's signs, signs, signs. Watch your signs, watch your signs, watch your signs. Okay? All right, so that's adding and subtracting. I know I'm going quick, but let me know if I need to go over. You can always send me a message or something like that to go over, or you can rewind, look at it again. Multiplication is the easiest one because we've already done this type of multiplication for a long time. So we're either using distributive property or FOIL, and this time exponents will change. Okay, so our exponents will change when we're multiplying, but not when we're adding and subtracting. So I'm just going to distribute this, so this becomes 8x plus 12, and that's it. Here, this is FOIL or box method, whatever you prefer. So if you prefer box method, we'll do that. Do one like that. So I have x and 2, and this is 2x and negative 4. So x times 2x is 2x squared. 2x times 2 is 4x, negative 4x, and then I just lost my spot. Negative 4 times 2 is negative 8. Remember, these two in the middle, you combine. So negative 4 plus 4, well, those actually cancel each other out. So I'm left with 2x squared minus 8. All right, and then sometimes it'll be a little bit longer, but you do the same thing here. So this is distributive property. We can do box method as well. So this is going to be 2, and this one's going to be 3, because I have 3 terms in this one. So x squared, negative 3x, and 9, and this is x and 1. So this becomes x cubed, negative 3x squared, and then, 9x. This is x squared, negative 3x, and this is 9. Now, you put things together that look the same, so you have this one, and you have this one. So we start with x cubed. 1 plus negative 3 is going to give me negative 2x squared. Negative 3 plus 9 gives me 6x, and then plus 9. Excuse me. So there would be your solution. Okay? All right, so go ahead and pause the video, or you can stop the video, and you're going to try some of these other ones, kind of work through them. And then in the next video, I'm going to go over division with you, because that one's a little bit longer.